We are in a new generation of people, and with attention spans being so low, I'm gonna make this a 10-second video. Bubsy Woolies Strikes Back is a video game. Bubsy Paws of Fire is a video game. Thanks for watching. See you later, asshole. Okay, for real though. Both of these games, let's talk about them a little bit. But going back to even their history, it's really nothing exciting either. Accolade Games just wanted to do some IP revivals with some of the IPs they have, and they gave the Bubsy IP to two different developers to work on them. Bubsy The Woolies Strikes Back was made by Black Forest Games, who had previously worked on dormant IPs such as the Gianna Sisters, which actually wasn't a bad game. Now Bubsy Paws on Fire was made by Choice Provision, who worked on the Bit Trip series, which again, aren't bad games. You would think that because the Bubsy IP was given to developers who have worked on good games, that these games would be good. But unfortunately, they ended up just being video games. I keep just calling these just video games for a reason. These are probably some of the most generic and boring games I have played in a long time. I think I've had more fun playing the bad games on this channel than playing these two. The worst part is, they're not even bad games. They're just boring. I don't even know how this happened. Both of the developers are good and they have experience with games, so you would think that they would not make a game like this boring. But not only that, these games look so cheap as well. This looks like you would see it on the background of a cartoon show or something. I'm gonna go into both games even more instead of just mindlessly bashing on them, but just to give you a taste. Both games have like 2 to 3 enemies for the whole game. Sure, there are reskins, but almost all the enemies do kind of the exact same thing. Imagine if the first Mario Bros had a Goomba and a Paragoomba for the entire game and that's it. But that's kind of what happens in these games. But do you want to know something? You might think to yourself, it's only like that, or this game only looks like this because this game is old. This game came out 3 days after Mario Odyssey. Now I know it's not fair at all to compare a small indie company with Nintendo, but like, you couldn't do any better? Like, just look at the character designs on the monitor. Like, come on. Anyway, I'm gonna stop whining and complaining and actually be fair to both games. We'll start with Bubsy The Woolies Strikes Back, because that came out first. Like, come on. This game is a return to Bubsy after 21 years. 21 years! God damn! Once you get into the game and see the title screen, you immediately realize something. Bubsy looks kind of not great. I hate using this term, but I feel like it's what best fits this. He looks completely soulless. I really can't put my finger on it, but it just looks like they just ported his model to make it just modern, and it just looks kind of weird. Now, I did get used to it after a while, and I ended up being fine with it, but this is probably one of my least favorite Bubsy designs. But we click Start Game, and we're immediately in the world map, which I assume shows Polly and Esther stealing the Golden Fleece. That is pretty much all the story you get. The first two games gave you a comic book inside the manual. This game, you get a 2-second animation. The map screen itself is pretty obvious on what it does. You just pick a level. It works. It's pretty generic though, but it works. I go into the tutorial level and immediately half the screen isn't working for me. It makes half the screen invisible and I can't see anything. Also, the tutorial buttons just aren't there. We're off to an outstanding start. So it turns out you have to run the game in DirectX 9. If you use DirectX 10 or 11, the game just doesn't work. Nice. I played Bubsy 1, 2, 3D, the bad one on Atari, and this is the only one that broke. But at least the fix is simple, so I just restarted the game and went into the game, and I forgot to record the tutorial level because I restarted. Anyway, let's go over the controls. Bubsy doesn't control badly in this at all, but it comes at a cost. This isn't a Sonic-styled game anymore. I mean, it hasn't for a while, but they've had Sonic elements in them. But as a reminder for the 4th or 5th time, Bubsy is supposed to be a Sonic ripoff. That is what the main developer and creator wanted. This game doesn't have any of that. Bubsy just has a base movement speed. His movement here is very generic. It's nothing special. It works, but it's nothing. Bubsy can of course jump and glide like the previous games, but they also remove something important. There is finally no fall damage. I don't know why it took this long, but there is no fall damage in this game, which is awesome to see. Plus, on a positive, which I'm actually happy we're getting to, because believe it or not, I don't really like being that negative, There are actually two mechanics related to Bubsy's movement that I like a lot. Bubsy gets a pounce in this game, which has the ability to jump onto enemies and destroy blocks. This is a lot of fun and is very useful. And Bubsy also has the ability to cling on walls as well. You can also pounce onto the walls just to cling on them and then climb up them. They're both very cool and add a lot to the gameplay, but are these used in any meaningful way? Are these annoying cut-ins I do meaningful? You added two cool new mechanics, and you don't really do that much with them. There's only one level from my memory that I can remember using these mechanics for. That's it, and it was only for like a second. I only really used the pounce to just speed through the levels. That's it. But that's pretty much it for Bubsy's controls. Even though I was a bit negative sounding, it's generic, but he controls fine. There's nothing wrong with it. There's no charm like the original Bubsy, but it doesn't control poorly, which is good. Going into the levels themselves, it's a little weird. They aren't exciting, but they're not horrible either. They're large and open and you can explore, but it's not as aggravating as Bubsy 2 or something like that. It's completely explorable. You don't get lost is what I'm trying to say. I don't know why I struggled to think about that. The goal of the game is simple though. Just get to the end. Wow, how exciting. On the way, you collect wool, which I don't know why I think so positively of this, but I just love how colorful the wool is here. I rate collectibles on how delicious they look, and these look incredibly good to eat, so it gets 5 stars from me. Seriously though, the wool looks good, so that gets a thumbs up from me. But once you get to the end of the level, the wool goes into a machine, and the more you get, the higher score, which I like because it reminded me of something like Spyro, how when you come back from a flight level, all the treasure goes into a chest. And it just feels so good seeing all that go into the chest. Just like how it feels so good seeing all the wool go into the machine here. Obviously it's not as good as Spyro because this is just like 2D art of the wool instead of it plopping down in a physics-based style, but it's still pretty good. Now, you probably saw this on the screen, and I honestly can't believe it either, but yes, a game released in 2017 has a password system. I don't even know why. This is a non-issue. I'm complaining about nothing here, but the game saves anyway, like automatically saves. So why is there a password system? Is this to just appeal to the boomers playing this game? I'm only a young 29, and when I saw this, I just went, huh. Anyway, I went off track. The level design for every level, it's fine. It's big, but it's also not too big. You can't get lost playing it like the older games, as all you need to go is go to the right and you'll find your way to the end. However, in each level, you can find 5 keys around the level to open up the gate at the end that is hiding a bunch of wool, which is a bonus for exploring if you want to. Though you don't really have to, as I don't think there's a reward for getting everything, so there's not really a point. It's for your own enjoyment. Yay. But of course, every level has their enemies. In this game, you have the woolies that walk around on the ground and the woolies that fly in the air. I'll go into some of the other ones, but I just want to tell you something right now and interrupt the video. I have presented to you about 80% of the entire game. I'm not even joking. This map we saw at the start, did you think there was going to be more hidden to the right or something? Nope, that's the entire game. Look at it. This game only has 11 levels and 3 bosses. And it also only has 3 themings, a grassland, a desert, and space. Wow, how original. The entire game is 1 hour long. Maybe even less if you can beat these piece of shit bosses faster than I can, as that's what took most of the time out of anything. I think they took me about maybe 20 to 30 minutes to do, so the actual levels in the entire game is 30 minutes, and on launch, this game was $30. What? Now let's talk about the remaining 20%. In World 1, there is a bee enemy that flies around and it can hurt you. Wow, the game is saved. This is what I meant at the start, where most enemies are kind of the same. Like the woolies are just a box that fly around and hit you, and the bees are just a circle that fly around and hit you. Wow. You also have some enemies that shoot projectiles at you and sharks that are like shooting themselves at you, but at the end of the day, it's just a projectile you have to dodge. That's basically it. They don't really add too much that saves the game. There are some mechanics in the level too, but they're not exciting. Like in level 3, there's a mechanic where rocks or fire are rolling down a hill. Like, that's out of place. Maybe they're meteors falling from the sky? What? They're not even that annoying. You could just jump over them. Later on in the game, it starts introducing spikes that instantly kill you. Wow. It's almost like that's in every single platformer ever made. Now here's a new enemy. Tell me if this excites you and makes you want you to play the game a bit more. So there's a woolly with a spear and they run at you. Isn't that absolutely amazing? That didn't work for you? All right, how about these springs that are just randomly placed all over almost every map? How about that one? Oh, wait a minute. Here's one. In one of the space levels, it has lava rising. Okay, but it rises so slowly that I had to jump down and check to make sure it was actually rising up and chasing me. Okay, then, how about that's the whole game? I legit don't think I've missed anything up until this point other than the bosses. I think that's it. I can't think of anything else that was in the game. And if I miss something, I don't think it's a game changer. I really wanted more out of this game. The game is just 80% of you running around the same style level, going around a spam of woolies. It feels like the enemy placement, they just place them in random spots. It doesn't make a lot of sense. The game is just not exciting. Again, I know I've been negative so far, but the game isn't bad. It's just nothing so far. I did forget to mention something though. The music in this game is actually pretty alright. Take a listen. Now, I do want you to remember this music being pretty good, as this will be coming up later. Though I did leave something out. The bosses. So let's go into them. Because the bosses in this game are kind of wild. The first one is Polly and Esther in this tentacle UFO thing. You need to avoid the boss's fire explosion, the rocks that the boss brings up from the ground, and the boss himself. When the boss slams down, that's your cue to pounce on them, and then they take damage. In the middle of the fight, a random stream of blue wool falls down from the sky. I don't know why this is a thing. It's a boss battle. This is just a waste of time. And it's annoying here because the boss takes forever to beat. You can only damage them when they jump down, so whenever they feel like going down, that's the only chance you can damage them. It's annoying, but after a while, the boss goes down. Now for the second boss, this boss took me 20 minutes to do. Why is this boss fight so hard? The difficulty just exploded at this boss here. What? Again, you're fighting a UFO with Polly and Esther in it. For the whole fight, the sides are blocked off with spikes, so don't touch those. You need to avoid the boss's upside down laser, normal laser shots, a side laser where you need to glide between the two bosses' laser beams while dodging a big laser that shoots out a giant laser that you need to glide over, which has about a 0.5 second time frame you can react to the first time you do it, a big laser shot, and spawning enemies. Holy what? I just sped read the script there. I'm pretty sure I've messed up the grammar there, but whatever, you get what I mean. It's a lot. There is so much here, and there's a lot of things that you will most likely get hit by because it's your first time doing it and the boss just does it so fast. What is worse is if you actually want to 100% the game, you need to collect the blue yarn that will just fall from the sky in the middle of the fight. Imagine missing one of those. That means you need to restart and do it again. Eventually the boss will just fall to the ground and like before you just need to pounce on them, but that's it. I say that's it, but the difficulty spike here was absolutely insane. I think I've actually watched people take forever on this as well. The next boss is the final boss, which I didn't even take as long as compared to the last boss. This boss is again Polly and Esther in a UFO. I've only just realized it's just been a UFO boss 3 times. That's kind of lame. And they're all just shooting lasers at you. That's really it. The boss will shoot lasers at you, but they're just purple this time. This boss will drop giant balls of lightning, ending in a big one. The boss will spawn enemies, and the boss will do the same laser wipe as before, where you need to run to the other side to avoid it. The boss will also do a giant laser. You need to jump over to the higher platformers or jump to the lower ones to avoid it, depending on where the purple light is. But I think that's it. The boss doesn't fall to the ground this time though. After a bit, the shield around the boss will go away, allowing you to climb up the platforms and pounce on them. Why is the final boss easier than the second boss? Once defeated, you get a cutscene. Now doesn't that just look amazing? Bubsy just flies off with the golden fleece. And I just noticed, this Bubsy looks different than the one on the box art and the one in the game. Am I crazy? Anyway, credits roll, game done. I've said this 100 times now, but again, the game isn't bad. It's just nothing. It's just so generic. I would just rather play almost any other platformer. There's like thousands on Steam, and they're probably better than this. One funny thing about this game though is I read an article somewhere that apparently the publisher knew that this game was not going to be received well. It wasn't, obviously, it was kind of mixed, but why would you make a game and release it knowing it's not good? Why would you do that? They tried to capitalize on Bubsy being bad and were like tweeting about how bad Bubsy is and why Bubsy's so bad, so you should buy this game. It just makes no sense. If you watch the credits all the way through, you get presented with this. Now isn't that just terrifying? Anyway, that's it. See ya. Oh wait, there's another one. Bubsy Paws on Fire. Bubsy Paws on Fire released on May 16th in 2019, and there's not much history at all for this game like the last one. Again, I believe this was just part of the IP revival that they were trying to do, and this again was another game part of that IP revival. Here's a fun fact though. There was a Kickstarter for this game, though only extra stuff, meaning that the game was fully funded, but this Kickstarter was just for extra stuff in the game, like costumes, new characters, new levels, but it didn't hit a single goal. Would you donate to this? I mean, just look at Bubsy in the game. He just doesn't look appealing or marketable at all. Again, like the last game, he looks kind of dead on the inside, though a little bit more dead on the inside here. But let's start the game. The game starts with a cutscene, and to my surprise, the voice acting in this cutscene isn't actually that bad.
What the? This looks like the worst show ever. I bet it wasn't even a union gig.
The story in this game is that Polly and Esther warn Bubsy that the pig from the second game is capturing every animal to open a zoo. He doesn't believe them at first. So Polly and Esther send a woolly named, yeah, I just realized she's called Woolly. What the hell? Anyway, that woolly then helps Bubsy. The twins give Bubsy some new shoes, and our adventure begins.
El Gato Zapatos, huh?
But yes, this does mean this is a sequel to Bubsy 2. But it doesn't even play the same, but we'll get to that later. In every Bubsy game up until now, I was never bothered by Bubsy himself. In this one, it actually got to me, but only a little bit. I hate his personality in this one, which is kind of a strong word for me just saying I only don't like it a little bit. You know what? I don't care. I hate his personality in this one. He seems like a stuck-up piece of shit who will just not stop talking about himself and only caring for himself a lot more than the other games. He's just an ass. I do like the style of loading screens in this game though. I don't know why. I think they're just cool. Same with the options menu. I actually like the style this game has, though it's only in these two screens that they're there. They should have gone for this a bit more in the rest of the game, as this already has a slight bit more style than the previous one, though not much more. Because once we start the game, we get a world map which looks like a mobile game. This looks not great. The game can show you what awards you can get each level, but by doing this, they sometimes cover the amount of total awards you have in the top left. What? We get into level 1, and my PS5 controller does not work with this game. Great. So we're stuck using the keyboard, which is honestly fine. There aren't many buttons in this game, because I think I mentioned it earlier. I might have cut it out. But this is only half of a platformer. This is an auto-running game, like Bit Trip, if you haven't played that. I mean, it was made by the same people after all. Bubsy and every other character in this game automatically runs to the right, and as Bubsy, you can jump, glide, and pounce ahead of you, or take out enemies using them, or just dash forward. But that's pretty much it. There are 3 other characters you can play as in this game as well, like I mentioned. Virgil, who is similar to Bubsy, but instead of gliding and pouncing, Virgil can slide and double jump instead. But you can also play as the Woolly, which is more of a shoot 'em up where you fly around and shoot at things, rather than it being a platformer. Each level has you play as these 3 characters, and each level has 3 pieces of an Arnold coin you can collect. If you collect all 3 Arnold coins for each character, you unlock an Arnold level, which is very similar to the Sonic Pipe bonus game things from Sonic 2. You just need to collect the gems and avoid everything else, like glue and farts. This is kind of why I don't really like the humor or Bubsy in this game that much. I feel like Bubsy had more than just being a fart joke. I can't believe I'm defending Bubsy here, man, but I feel like Bubsy's humor was better than these fart jokes they put in the game. Anyway, every character controls fine. It's simple, very simple. There's nothing really wrong with that, except for Arnold. Now with Arnold, if you hold left, Arnold will roll to the left. But let's say Arnold gets to the top of the screen while you're holding left. You would assume that he would keep rotating around in a circle. But no, that is not the case. If you get to the top middle, he will then start going back down from the left, and that is fucking annoying. It makes it super weird to control. But anyway, the goal of each level is to get all the yarn and get to the end by following the rhythm, because like I said, this is half a rhythm game, half a platformer. Every action you do syncs up with the music, which is a cool idea, and why there are so many bit trip games and why they work. It's an idea that works, which is not what I'm going to say about this game, because if you follow every single action perfectly, it felt like way more than half the time, my actions did not sync up with the music, especially in the shoot 'em up levels. You're just shooting random stuff that doesn't sync up with the music at all. It really just feels so out of sync. So the rhythm itself in the game, for me at least, did not work most of the time. But this is a music game. So how's the music? Well, take a listen to a couple tracks. See, it sounds fine, there's nothing wrong with it, it's good enough. But this just could be a me thing maybe, but did you notice something? The songs sound very similar. It felt like I listened to the same song throughout the entire game minus the bosses. It just sounds the same, even though obviously they're not the same, they're different. But to me, they just sound very similar. Also, I don't really find this music to really fit Bubsy. Honestly, I felt the music in the previous Bubsy game to actually fit it more. Why is the music in that game more fitting than the rhythm game? But that's pretty much how the game plays. You just need to collect all the balls in the level and then beat it. You don't even need to get all the balls. That's optional. But let's get into a real issue with the game. To progress in the game, you need a certain amount of rewards, which you get by beating a level with one of the characters, meaning you need to play the same level as at least 2 to 3 characters. But let's say you want to 100% the game. You need to play each level 3 times and get the bonus coins in all of them to do the Arnold level. There are 9 levels in each world. Since you need to do them 3 times each, that means there are 81 levels plus 27 bonus levels plus 3 boss levels. There are 111 levels in the game, and almost every single level feels and sounds the exact same. What? This is one of the most repetitive games I have ever played. It just feels the same the entire time. Yeah, sure, we get new enemies sometimes, but just like the last game, most of the enemies in this are just hitboxes that you can just pounce or jump into or something. Sometimes they look different, but they function the exact same. Like, I think the only time I wrote down a note on a new enemy was a slime later on that just instantly kills you and just spreads. That's pretty much it. Oh, wait a second. There's a red enemy that explodes eyes. Does this really enhance or make the gameplay so much more at all to make it not boring? But I have a couple of random things to talk about and I don't know where to put it, so I'm just gonna put it here. The game actually goes from easy to more difficult the farther you get in the game. This game has a good difficulty curve, which is impressive really, as most Bubsy games up to this point had the most random difficulty ever. So that's good. That's a positive. Wow. However, like the last game, there are only 3 worlds in this. A forest, a UFO base, and a zoo. The end of World 1 actually has you walking into the base with a road showing up at the end, which is cool. Though World 2 doesn't have a transition like that. You just go from UFO base to zoo. Why? Every level in the world pretty much looks the same, minus the occasional change, like the last level of the forest getting a road all of a sudden, which is to, like I said, show you that the next world is going to be UFO base, or the zoo changing from a zoo to an aquarium. But other than that, it's pretty much the same. And I think those are really the only changes. The zoo has kind of a cool mechanic though, where there's a fire hydrant that blows water at you that makes you go up if you're playing as Bubsy, but if you're playing as Virgil, it will burn you instead. This is the only mechanic I wrote down. There are a couple levels in this game that have an intended path, but if you miss it or mess up, it just puts you on a different path that's just a boring straight line that has nothing there. Why not just kill my character at this point? Also, one cool thing this game has is costumes. You can make Bubsy wear a shirt that says oof on it. That's cool. That's the whole game. I guess I'll just go into the bosses now. Each boss in this game has its own theme that doesn't actually sound the same, which is cool. Take a listen. For the first boss, you are Bubsy in the UFO and you just have to shoot down the boss before the death ray meter hits max. You do this while avoiding the boss's one attack, a giant laser. Actually, the boss does move around to shoot missiles at you as well, but that's pretty much it. It's a very simple first boss, but it works. Just shoot him enough and he goes down. Boss 2 is actually kind of cool and I actually like it a lot. You're constantly on a trail of precise platforming, and if you fall, you die. This precise platforming leads you to the boss's eyeball that you need to pounce to. The music is in sync in this level and it works perfectly. I just wish more of the game could have been like this. Great music, synced up sounds, and intense and fun gameplay. Wow! The next boss, which is the final boss, is Oinker, which again is a lot of fun because it mixes up the game. It starts with him getting into the doohickey. He then shoots the bottom out, which you need to jump over, and then also watch out for his missile. To get close to the boss, you need to pounce to him, as pouncing to him will make you get closer to him. Once you get close, you just pounce him in the head. Do that enough times and you move on to the next phase. This next phase has you precise platform on these balloon bombs that get thrown at you for a bit. This is actually pretty hard as you need to time your jumps perfectly. After a bit, Oinker crashes and now it's a shoot 'em up section, which is pretty much a ripoff of the first boss. Dodge lasers, dodge the missiles. Kinda lame that this final part is just a copy, but what can you do? But once you do that, you beat the game and has an ending CG full of dumb jokes. Though it does sequel bait, which is a horrifying thought honestly. But that's the entire game. Watching the footage, I closed this game as fast as I could. Holy moly. I am baffled I was able to make this video as long as I did, because both games are kinda nothing games. The original Super Mario Bros. Has more interesting stuff than these games. Maybe I should use that metric as a review now, or maybe game developers should. If your game isn't more interesting than the original Super Mario Bros., just don't do it. But saying all this, like I said, these games aren't bad. They're just nothing. I think I've said that like 10 times in this video now, but I can't emphasize this enough. There's nothing really exciting going on in these games. Almost every other Bubsy game that are worse than this had more exciting stuff in it. So much so that I'd rather play those than these. So maybe these are worse games after all, but I don't know. I just feel like these are just, it's hurting my brain. But that is the story of Bubsy, and he was never heard from again because both games failed. What?